somewhere in my body is telling me there's a potential threat or danger. But however, now we need to utilize our wisdom and our logic to say, is there a danger? Is there a genuine threat? So, it absolutely doesn't have to be negative. I'm a big fan of anxiety. It does a really, really important job.
Audio Jungle.
Hello and welcome to Business Focus, produced by the Greater Reston Chamber of Commerce. My name is Angela Inzarello with Impact Business Solutions, and I'm privileged to be your host as we highlight the great work our local businesses are doing. Well, welcome. If this is your first time, thank you for being here. We've got some great content on our channel, and we're growing, and we would love for you to be a part of it. So like, subscribe, share, do all those fun things. And you're going to definitely want to share after this episode, because I am thrilled to have Mr. James Wilson with us. James, welcome with WMA Coaching.
Hi there, Angela. Good, thank you. Thank you very much for having me today. I'm looking forward to our chat.
I am as well. I know we're going to get deep because the world, it's a crazy world, James, right? I mean, the conversation we're going to have, we haven't had this in a while. It really is about people, but it is about what we're all dealing with in the world, right?
Right.
Stress and burnout and all those kinds of things. Yeah. So why don't you share with the audience? Yeah, because I love new business owners. You're a new member of the chamber, so welcome.
I am. Yes, thank you.
We reeled you in.
It's a great organization.
Excellent. You get points for that. Bonus. No, it's true. You came to a couple events, a networking event, and we did the prospective member breakfast, and you're like, what? You're right. It's some good people. Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's what you thought.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it was the people that kind of got me to sign up, really, because in the atmosphere, and it's lovely. Yeah. No,
yeah. Good people nice too. Yeah. So why don't you share how you started again, your business, and coming to the US, obviously with the accent. So
yes, I'm from the UK. Yeah. So, how did I move to the US? So, I'd lived in France. I'm from the UK originally. Moved to France, lived there for 10 years with my wife. Moved as a trailing spouse with her to France for her work. Lived there for 10 years, and then we had this opportunity to move to the US, and it was kind of like, should we have a new challenge? Try something different? An exciting opportunity. Someone was paying for the visa.
Like hey, James and I have been through that. We know.
Yeah, right. So we thought, why not? So we came here with her work. So and to give our son, who's almost 8, a different culture as well, just to be a part of. So that's what brought us here.
Is she French?
No, she's British too.
She's British too.
I followed her to France, and then I followed her to the US.
To the US. Good for you. Absolutely. Well,
this is why they've been here.
I said, no, a great opportunity, it sounds like, for her.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's really great. Yeah, because she got to take a new role, which has given her an opportunity to travel and try something different and new and gain those experiences and that knowledge. That's been really, really great for her.
And also great for your son, I can imagine, kind of traveling and everything.
Yeah. And he's taken to it like a duck to water, which is...
Kids are great that way. So yeah, let's talk more about kind of what you've been dealing with. So you brought your expertise from the UK to France and then kind of here, right? I know you're pivoting a little bit based upon your market. So you deal with. Yeah.
No, absolutely. So my background, originally I was a therapist by training. Well, actually, I kind of worked in the corporate world and stuff like that, and realized that wasn't nourishing for me. I wasn't enjoying going to work every day. And someone said, "Oh, you might be good as a therapist." So I kind of went down that route and trained and qualified and became accredited in the UK, all those sorts of things. So that was kind of where that started, that interest in helping people, giving people skills, helping people get over their sort of barriers and helping them progress in life. And then moved to France and set up a private practice. And that's where I started to work with the expat community, because my USP was speaking English. So I got to build a business and a quite successful client base off that. So working with different people, and it was a fantastic place to work with people, in academia, in the corporate world, in the sporting world, in the expat world, people that move and have to deal with kind of guilt and loneliness and those sorts of things. So that kind of developed, and then moving to the US, really wanting to broadening that out again, moving into the coaching side of things, and really evolving my practice again, how I worked with people, and focusing and bringing kind of more of working with people in the small business world, in the executive world, So
So when you were in France, the people you said excuse me, the therapist component and expats, what challenges were they dealing with typically?
So there was the isolation piece. So it was different kind of client bases, really. So I'd have the trailing spouse client base, which was they've uprooted from home, they've left their friends, their family, maybe their work behind. They're at home, their partners getting sort of celebrated, all these things, all this help, and they're kind of dealing with that loneliness, that guilt, that anxiety. So helping people there. I had a kind of group of people that were retiring, because there's a dream of I'll retire from the UK and move to the French countryside. But these are people that had kind of high functioning, high powered jobs. And suddenly they're not doing anything. Their brain isn't being nourished, and they maybe can't speak the language or don't have a network. So how do people cope with that? The academic side was, the dealing with the pressures of doing a PhD or something like that. I worked with a lot of PhD students at that time, helping them deal with that, the stresses and strains of that. And because of the city we lived in France was a big corporate hub for the company my wife worked for, actually, and all the sort of satellite businesses from that. And there was a real strand there of how do I progress? How do I progress in my career? How do I deal with the cultural differences in the workplace? How do I deal with communication issues? How do I deal with the stresses and strains of that?
And just living, right? Just being in a new country and people, I'm sure, culturally different.
Yes.
And it's hard. I'm not, I would think any country, as you say, expats. But
absolutely.
here, I can see you dealing with very similar situations as far as the people, the challenges that most people are having, that you're seeing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as I say, kind of focusing more on that small business, that executive side of things, kind of getting into that, which is really interesting, and people's perfectionism, the burnout aspect of things, the stresses that come with that world. How do we manage that? How do we deal with that in a way that's workable? I talk about 2 tests in my work. The mirror test, which is, can I look myself in the mirror and say, I stand by what I've done? It was in line with my values and the person I wanted to be today.
Yeah.
And also the workability test. Did it work in the context of the situation?
Do you think and those are great questions to ask yourself for anything, because people always second guess themselves depending upon the situation. I mean, you may at the time think 100% that makes sense for me and what I believe, and then later on kind of think it through differently, maybe with just some perspective and insight. I mean, certainly we get that, right, with people that surround us, or spouses or kids or whatever. And sometimes I'll do something obvious and James will be like, my husband, James, will just be like, give me a totally different perspective on it, right? And usually like your girlfriends or maybe guy friends, they're like support you and your family, right? Everyone's supportive. And then when you get that little shot in the arm of some other perspective, you like think about it differently. Like, do you feel like more people bring this upon themselves or the situation to, like you said, perfectionism? I mean, I'm a perfectionist, right? I talked about this in another podcast, and I've tried and I'm conscious about it, where I think you use the word good enough, right? It's not like it's horrible, but like, so talk more about that. Is it the situation that puts perfect, or is it ourselves because we demand so much of ourselves?
It can be either and or both. I mean, my work is actually predicated, the work that I've kind of evolved and through adding the coaching in is what I call the conscious mind empowerment method. And that starts with speaking about the conscious mind and the rooted mind. So I say that each of us have the conscious mind and the rooted mind. The conscious mind is where our wisdom, kindness, values, and logic reside. And that's the part of ourselves that we want to be in charge of making decisions, taking actions. That's what will help us pass our mirror test. Right. But we also have the rooted mind. And the rooted mind is what creates our thoughts and our feelings and our urges. And what happens is the rooted mind will grab hold of the conscious mind. So suddenly we're now acting based on what our rooted mind is telling us, not necessarily on the facts of a situation. And I call it the rooted mind because it's rooted in the past and upbringing and culture and genetics and evolution and trauma, all these things that creates that. So it's maybe not based on what's going on in a situation. So one of the key mantras I have is, just because I think it doesn't mean it's true.
True.
So we just want to slow down. We want to get the separation, get the distance. So we're acting from our conscious mind.
And how
So
do you put your, so you ask yourself to say, this is not true.
Right. Well, this may not be true. Let me just check this out. And that's why you start to shift perspective. Let me just check out what's actually going on here.
Yeah. And then I'm sure like a lot of times, because one exercise we do is then you find reasons why, of course, it's not true. Like you may not be good enough, or like, oh my gosh, I can't do that, but I've done it in the past. Or
exactly.
It's really, it's hard. It's conversation with yourself, which is thank God for people like you who can logically walk someone through it. This, back to the rooted stuff, is the rooted stuff, it sounds like it's negative, but it doesn't have to be. It's just the way you were raised and born. And
yeah. And I always tell people that from an evolutionary perspective, we're designed to feel anxious above every other emotion because it kept us alive from a species perspective, because anxiety is about threat and danger. So our first job, any species' first job is to stay alive long enough to procreate, to keep the species going. So that's why it's a sort of modern world has said, well, probably happiness is a default setting, but it's not, it's anxiety. So once you kind of go, okay, so we're designed to feel anxious because somewhere in my body is telling me there's a potential threat or danger. But however, now we need to utilize our wisdom and our logic to say, is there a danger? Is there a genuine threat? So, it absolutely doesn't have to be negative. I'm a big fan of anxiety. It does a really, really important job. You or I wouldn't be here today without it. We wouldn't have lasted long enough as a species for you and I to be here. So once you kind of go, okay, so it's trying to tell me something. It's giving me a piece of information. Mm-hmm. Now, what do I want to do with that? Because that anxiety might be genuine. You might go, no, there is a genuine threat and danger. But now what action do I want to take utilizing my wisdom? If a tiger came into our room right now, we'd want to take an action. We'd want to feel anxious. We'd want to run away, because that'd be based on wisdom, not just on that feeling.
Wow. This is deep, folks. This is cool. No, but it's true, because you don't really think about it. When you say words like burnout or stress, perfectionism, anxiety, I immediately think negative, right? People, I don't know. I think it's just like, oh, it's a negative content, but not at all.
Right.
It's what helps you make the right decisions, or like you just said, kind of get out of the room when a tiger.
Right.
So I feel like anxiety could be, for me, I'm like there's sometimes like my body reacts, whatever it might be. Right. Someone walks into the room you haven't seen, or just something, you see something on TV, right? That triggers an emotion. Yeah. And I say to myself, I'm conscious, I'm logical, going, that's just stupid, whatever. Like, you're whatever it is, you're smarter than that, you're better than that. But physically you react I cannot control it. So my mind tries to control my body, but I don't know how you.
Well, so it's interesting. The toolkit for change that I kind of give people is the 4-step change process. And the second step of that is self-compassion.
Self-compassion.
It's acceptance, to say it's okay that I've had that physiological response. That's okay. Let me just take a second.
Yeah.
I don't have to not have it, because there's no switch. If there was a switch to turn all these emotions on or off, we would just be flicking them. There isn't a switch. So it's just about saying it's okay that that's there, that self-compassion piece. People tend to be very compassionate towards others, less so towards themselves. You need to work on that self-compassion piece. It's okay. Let me just assess the situation. Okay, it's something I've just seen on a television screen. I'm safe. I'm okay. So that self-compassion in that sort of situation becomes really important.
You mentioned 4 steps. We just did 2. Go through the steps for the people.
Yes. So the first step is focus reset, which is a grounding exercise, which is about getting that separation between conscious mind and rooted mind. Because to do the 4-step change process, we want the conscious mind in charge doing it. So the conscious mind, we give it that separation through focus reset. Step 2 is self-compassion. And as I said, the conscious mind is home to our kindness. Again, we're not really, from an evolutionary perspective, designed to be kind necessarily, so we've developed kindness. The third step is that reframing piece. That's that shift in perspective. Is there a dangerous thing happening? If no, it's okay. If yes, what do I need to do about it? So that's that reframing perspective. I always actually end the reframing step, always ends with the same question, and that's the 5-minute question. And that is there anything I can do about it, whatever it is, in the next 5 minutes? If yes, in the words of Nike, just do it, just take the action. If no, the second part of the 5-minute question is, what can I do instead of ruminating on it? And then that moves us into the fourth and final step, mindful, valued living. Am I doing something right now that's meaningful to me? It's in line with my values and the life I want to lead. And importantly, am I doing it mindfully?
It sounds like, go ahead.
I was going to say, we've all read a book and not taken in the page we've just read. So
Absolutely.
it looks like we're doing something valuable, but if we're not mindful, we're not connecting with
absorbing it. I went right to sleeping when you were going through the exercise, because it's true. A lot of times you just got a lot on your mind. It's just typical, go to bed, try not do less screen time. Right. And so you immediately think about your next day or something that happened that day. And I do say to myself, hey, I can't do anything about it now.
Right.
Like, why is it consuming my brain? And then you think, okay, well, I should be sleeping right now. Right. So you try to, whatever it is to get your mind off of, and I think the biggest is you can't do anything about it right now.
Yeah.
Like, in the next 5 minutes, what can I do about it? Nothing, just I could go to sleep. And
it's quite an empowering question. Once you kind of go, no, there's nothing I can do about it.
Right.
Well, am I helping myself or anyone by ruminating on it?
Right. Oh, yes. Easier said than done there, James.
It takes practice. It takes practice. Absolutely. A lot of my work is that repetition, and it's okay because it is about practicing a new way of being,
So is your program, because you have the therapy component, and then you've got this, like I said, this process that you work with people on. So is it a combination of people working through the steps with you, or is there like training that you do? Okay.
Yeah, it's a very educational thing, really. And what I love about it, and what it kind of chimes with the sort of coaching piece, is it's just here and now. The first part of my overall work, the first question I ask is, what's your goals? What do you want to be different at the end of the process from how things are today? That might be a professional goal or personal goal, but where do you want to be? What changes do you want to make? And so then it's always in service of our goals and putting the process in the context of the goals and figuring out what are the barriers.
It really, because you asked because I immediately go, if that were me, I'd be like, well, this is where I want to be. And I don't know, is it something where you're like, oh, it's a 12-week program, or is it like ongoing, or is there like I'll call it like a ramp up kind of work that you do, intensive maybe, and then kind of ongoing? Because it's a work in progress, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it is. So quite quickly over the first few sessions, I want to get through this, because then it gets into that repetition piece, and we go through situations and how did we apply it? How did we not apply it? What stopped us applying it? Because it's through repetition that we make a change, because it's a habitual thing.
Yeah.
My dream would be this stuff would be taught in schools, so people would get it from such an early age, but so you're changing a habit. You're getting someone to switch from writing right-handed to left-handed. It doesn't happen overnight. It's repetition. It's repetition.
Training yourself. Are you dealing mostly with executives, or?
A nice, a blessing and a curse in a sense. I'm very fortunate that I've kind of got a range of people from different backgrounds here locally, which is why I joined the chamber. I'm trying to build a more of a local kind of business to go with my international business, because I work with people in Australia and Bali and Europe and the US, so a real stretch, and China. I've worked with the Middle East as well, actually. So I've got that international piece, and I'd really want to bring some of it more local.
Absolutely.
So locally,
you have so much to give. And there's so many of those. I would imagine most people that you deal with, I think you said executives, corporate folks, right? High stress. Not that we don't all have stress, but there's a different element that you have as an executive, a senior, within a larger company. And then you have to portray that nothing is wrong.
Right. And it's, dealing with what I call the metaphorical clouds in the sky. Executives absolutely have these clouds in the sky, and it's how do you deal with them, absolutely. And dealing with each cloud individually.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But I was also thinking about, like, even as a business owner, a small business owner may have, to provide for their family, right? So there's stress there. We see a lot of that, right?
That
People
pressure.
are providing for their family.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they have the ego. They don't want to fail. So there's stress to, to whatever, execute or.
Yeah.
do well, or at least come across and been doing well.
Yeah, and that's the other mantra that I really use is change the things you can change, accept the things you can't.
Yeah.
So where there's that pressure not to fail, it's about saying, well, we can't guarantee failure or success. The reframing question becomes, what can I do to maximize the possibility of success? And am I putting those steps into practice? Or what might stop me putting those steps into practice? And that, again, takes us back to perfectionism often. Well, if I try, then it won't work. It won't be perfect. So people avoid the sort of single biggest behavior I see is avoidance. And that's why I need to help people do the thing it brings the yucky feeling. It's okay that yucky feeling is there because I'm still taking the action that's in line with my values, moving me towards my goals.
Right.
And again, that's why self-compassion becomes important. It's okay to have a yucky feeling whilst I'm doing something, because the reason I'm doing it is important to me. It's valuable to me.
And that's all that really matters, right?
Right.
I mean, your values are your core. It's who you are and the people you surround yourself with. Wow. I feel like this has been a session. James, let me know where to send the check. No, it's good. Like I said, it's a really good conversation because a lot of people are dealing with it. But I love your process. I love your program and the way, it helps people think through it. Which is the first step. Sometimes I just hope a couple people, listen to this might identify, go, hey, that could be me. So it was, let's talk about it. I know you do consults, but I'll put this on the screen and, when you talk about it, but you've got a website. I know you're on LinkedIn. You've got a podcast on being good enough. Is that what it's called?
On being good enough. Yes.
On all the platforms.
Often the ultimate goal, to pass the workability test, we just need to be good enough.
Yeah.
That's it. Just needs to be good enough. So On Being Good Enough is my podcast, which is available on all the platforms. So I do some bigger sort of episodes, 10, 15-minute episodes to go through a specific thing. And I do bite-sized 1-minute episodes, just in and out, just a little thing to think about, a little thing you can practice. We've got that. So do check that out, On Being Good Enough. Like and subscribe and all of those things that you said at the start. WMAcoaching.com is my website. So you can go and find out more on there. Book an appointment on there if you want to. I could kind of get to know you. Cool. Instagram as well. It's the 4-Step Coach.
Oh, okay. We'll make sure we put that on there too.
Number
Great.
4-Step Coach, because it's the 4-step process.
Absolutely. These are great resources. So I'm sure people, if you come to a Reston Chamber event, go find James, sit him in a corner with a beer.
Yes.
Get to know him a little bit more.
No, do. I'm a geek about these things. I love talking through this stuff. I suppose I see myself as a bit of a technician. It's about, I love having a process. I love giving people tools, and I love, helping make change. That's where I get my big thing from, is seeing people make changes, moving up the corporate ladder, changing how they come back and say, the meeting went so much better this time because of how I was running it and what I was saying, those sorts of things. It's really exciting. And
that's why you do what you do, right? That's why you love what you do. And, you're successful. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you found the chamber and bringing this passion to the community and what, we're all doing here. There's a lot of opportunities. So I'm sure you'll meet a lot of people and hopefully help a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this has been great. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Your voice is so soothing. I feel like I need to have a cup of tea when I do all the time anyway. But thanks again for being here. It's great that you joined the chamber, and hopefully you get to meet some more people. But I love learning about your process and sharing it with everybody today. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Angela. I've really appreciated it.
And we look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Stay in touch with us for future episodes. Like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.